or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation.
So welcome, this is Jeff the Big Hairy Dog. Let's get rolling, and I think we're still waiting for an attendee, but maybe they'll show up here in a minute. This is a Big Hairy Dog webinar on version 9 Retail Pro. Our agenda is purchasing, receiving, and inventory creation. So let's dive in and create some stuff. I've already signed into Retail Pro. On the main menu, there should be a merchandise drop down usually, and or it could be directly a button. So there is in Retail Pro the ability to design all your menus. So if somebody has modified the menus, you might have like a departments button, for instance. Could be all by itself, but usually it's merchandise departments. So let's start there. Okay, departments are categories. It's a way of looking at your merchandise and breaking it down into, smaller groups. We have a 3-level system. So you see I've set up one here called men's, tops, tees. So I could, if we wanted to, create another new one. Let's call this one men's. Of course, there's a code and a name, right, for each one, for each level. So we'll say this is top, we'll say tops, and collar knit. Not really going to get that out of there, out of the nice. All right, let's just go with polo, right? All right, so now I forgot to capitalize this here, kind of on purpose actually. Over here we have our tax code. You've got to say whether they're taxable or exempt. They default to taxable. However, if you copy them, we'll do that in a second, then you got to set that manually. Then you got margin, markup, and coefficient. Coefficient sets itself automatically. So we really need to put a margin in there that's greater than that. Now everybody hopefully understands these. These are just math, right? So let me just do some quick math for you. Let's just do, come on, there we go. Just open up a little notepad here. We're not going to do any math that's harder than us to do in our head, right? That would be bad. So if we have an item that has got a cost, let's say it's got a cost of $40, okay, and that our price is $60. Guess we should keep those lined up, huh? Looks better. Okay, then I think we could all agree, our price is $100. Getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Okay, and then the margin, which I was obviously thinking about when I typed price, would be $60, right? So the margin dollars plus the cost dollars equal the price. So everybody agrees with that, right? So if we take the margin and divide by the price, we get what's called margin, right, percent. So that is 60% margin. I think we all agree with that, right? Pretty straight up. Okay, if we take the margin and divide by the cost, that's called markup, right, percent. And that would be 150%. Everybody see the relationship there? You got $60, you got it 1.5 times in there than what you have in there, right? That's all. Anyway, and if we were to take the cost and multiply it by 2.5, we would have the coefficient, right? So 2.5 is the multiplier or coefficient, right? So if that's a multiplier and we have a 1 in here, then when we put a cost in, it's going to set the the price equal to the cost, right? So we've got to have like a 2 in there, right? Or we could have a 2.5, whatever, right? And when I set this to 2.5, you know that the margin's going to go to 60 and the markup's going to go to 150, right? It's math. They're all related. They're all tied together. So anyway, we need a good default, excuse me. So we're going to hit save on that. Now we've got, you know, 2 things in the men's department, and we've got a tops, we got polos and tees. I could, if I wanted to, copy this and we could say men's bottoms, and we're going to say shorts. So maybe SHR. I don't know. It looks like shirts. No matter what you do, it looks like shirts, right? Anyway, so let's hit over here. Let's take this, set it to taxable, because when you copy it, you don't get that, you lose it. And we'll set 2.3 here, right? Okay, save. Now we're not going to continue building department codes, but you get the plan here, right? If I were to summarize data to this level, these all 3 would summarize together. If I summarize data to this level here, then I get the bottoms and the tops separated. If I go all the way down, I get all 3 things separated, right? So when you build a department code, you have to think about your vertical businesses inside the bigger store. When I was in retail, which I feel like an old man now, I guess it was 25 years ago, my women's department was 26% of my business. My men's department was 22% of my business. Just those two alone were basically half my business. So if giftware, which was phenomenal in that store, was doing great at 13% of my business, and it had a double-digit increase, and we got freight in, I don't care how good giftware is doing, men's and women go out first, right? I mean, you got to drive your business. You got to understand your business. You do that with categories. So you should know your categories if you don't. All right, enough said on that. Let's talk about vendors. Okay, so next up on the hit parade here is vendors, then items and style view, and item creation, of course. So let's go take a look at our vendors. So let's back up. The big Resell Pro button in the top right corner is an escape key. Merchandise vendors. And I've got a couple of vendors that I've just put in there. So I'm going to go ahead and click new and add a vendor. And let's see. I'm trying to think of a good vendor to add. You know what I mean? Well, we'll just say that there's a vendor called Pete's. So we're just going to add in. All right, Pete's. And so we'll say it's Pete's INC in the thing, and we'll give it an address. Now, I think that most of you guys get that these fields here are address fields, right? Yeah, I don't have a zip code database loaded, so it can't load the city and state. I'll just say, and of course, if that was true, then this would not be, that's a New York zip code, 95814-ish, right? Title optional. We don't have any titles in there. Drop down, whatever here. And then phone numbers, right? Or we could put in the Big Hairy Dog phone number. Ooh. Actually, you got to spell out Big Hairy Dog when you're using a Big Hairy Dog email. But anyway, most of this stuff I think you could figure out. That's why I'm not really going over it in detail. I'm just throwing some stuff in there. However, this one up here and this one up here, these two here, I do want to take a quick second on. This is the account number that the vendor gives you. So you can print your account number on the top of a purchase order if you were to say export it to Adobe and make a PDF and email that to the vendor, then your account number would be on the top of the PO next to your name, right? Kind of important because it speeds up the process at their end if they have your account number, right, on the order when they go to put it in. This is the default terms. So payment terms should be defaulted on the vendor. There are 4 places you can default terms. Number 1 is the vendor code. Number 2 is the purchase order. Number 3 is the receiving voucher. Number 4 is the former voucher. So it can be edited once it's in history before it goes to accounting, right? So if most of our orders are net 30, then we would choose the days. So days is percent days. That's what that's called. They just changed it to days in this version. But I could say 2%, 10, net 30 down here, but I'm just going to go no percent for 30 days, which will then be net 30, right? So it says net 30 days, right? The other ones that are in there, you got prepaid. That's if they hit your credit card when they ship, then that's prepaid, right? Due as a specific due date. Cash on delivery, COD, rare. Payments, more than one due date, right? EOM is end of month, 10 days past end of month. And obviously credit account and replace are for making return items to the vendor. So these things are often skipped and should not be. These are probably the 2 most important fields after the vendor code. So the rest of these fields, unless you're using foreign currencies, you wouldn't be defaulting anybody to a currency, or you could set the lead time. Most people don't, but if you have a lead time and you know it takes 14 days to get there, you could put that in there. Not a problem. It feeds the committed screen, and that's what it feeds, or actually the committed screen. So, which we could add to our inventory section if we want, you know. It's actually a really brilliant feature. So anyway, these are just user-defined fields. UDF fields can be renamed in system preferences. This is not about how to rename these, but know that if we had to throw a third phone number in there, we could, and then we could go add a name to it later, right? Info are just that. They're just info. They're just little boxes that we can write something down in. We can add those to the screen on the purchase order screen. So if we had something that we needed to understand or remind ourselves of when we're writing a purchase order for that vendor, we could actually do it in that field and then have that field added to the screen so that you would be reminded, and we can make it red or whatever, right? All right, enough on the vendor thing here. Let's click save. While we're here though, I'm going to hop over to another vendor, and I'm going to point out that there is a history function that you can actually click the history view there, and you can see transactions in the past if there are any. If they don't come up, then you might check your date range, because our date range is set to month to date, and it just changed. It's just now August, right? So I'm going to make this say, you know, give me 181 days starting 180 days ago. Why one more on top? Why not do 180 and 180, right? Because I want it to end on today. If I do 180 days starting 180 days ago, it cuts off the transactions I make today. Awkward, by the way. I've done that. Don't recommend it. Anyway, so you can see we have one transaction with multiple items on it. There's the transaction at the top here, right? Voucher number 1. This is a pretty clean copy of Retail Pros, you can tell. And there's the items that I made up and dropped in there when I received them. All right, so let's cancel out of there. Just wanted to mention that history thing because it's cool. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go to inventory. And in inventory, don't have a lot of inventory. Again, a clean copy of Retail Pro. These items up here are single items, various junk that I've been working on and various things. This down here, when I click on this, notice that everything from like row 14 here up to 1, right? They all sort of highlight in blue, right? Now this one does not. Actually, 15 does, excuse me. 21 does not, right? So there is a concept that I want to share with you that has to do with the definition of a style, right? And that is that that things that have the same description and or style number, that's our choice, which we can go look at in a second. But the point is that we can tie our description to one of these two fields, but it's not just tied to these descriptive fields. It's also tied to this and this. So if I had a t-shirt that had the exact same style number from the same exact vendor for men's and women, it would be a problem, except that my department code would be women's tee and men's tee, right? So my department code would end up separating them. I actually had that problem with shoes. Actually, it's a New Balance shoe that had the same style number for men and women, but a size 6 women's is not a size 6 men, if you see what I mean, especially in shoes. So our department codes, being part of the style definition, broke that style and made two styles. So if you enter something that has this, this, and this, it will want to be part of that style. So we should do that. Men's tees, Nike t-shirt, right? Pretty easy. So if we say new on the top, and we say men's top tee, right? Nike. Now I could click the button and I could go browse the database in either one of these, but just wanted to make a point here, right? So if we click save right now, it says the style already exists. Right, do you want to join the style or cancel, right? So if you're putting in a style for the first time into inventory, or an item, doesn't really matter. We'll talk about that in a sec. And you see that message, you got to stop and say, wait a second, should that style already be there? If it should not, then you've either somebody else put it in, right? Which would be the best answer, by the way, or you're not defining it uniquely enough. It's a different item, but it conflicts with the current item because we're not making unique descriptions, right? So that's where the whole concept of putting the style number into that definition really, really benefits us. If the style number is the definition, items have a department. They shouldn't go in more than one. They come from a vendor, right? And if the style number is the definition, that combination then creates a unique identifier that I would put in or anybody else working with me would put in. So if I have that definition and it pops up, hey, this style already exists, then I'm going to say, wait a second, cancel, cancel, cancel. Let's go look for it. Oh, somebody already put this in. I'm wasting my time, right? Very important concept. Okay, so let's cancel that. We don't really want to do that. Cancel that and say, yes, we don't care. All right, so let's see. Let's put something in like a regular item. I'm going to click new at the top. I'm going to say this is now if you don't have a department, and let's say we don't have a department, so I'm going to say new, and I'm going to say this is, let's call this giftware. And I don't know, glass. Okay, because I need to stop at 3, huh? All right, I'm thinking maybe that should be without the space. I don't know. All right, so taxable margin, 52. Save, and then there's a big green OK button on the right-hand side here. And of course, depending on who did your screen designs and what's going on with that, you could actually have that button like in the screen, right? So it's either on the sidebar or it's in the body of the screen. So when you click this OK button, it will take that new or an existing department code and add it into your screen for you, right? Now, if you know the vendor code, and we're going to pick on Pete's here, you don't have to go browse it. You could just type it in, right? You don't actually have to go and click into the database and do a search and all that when you could just type in the few characters, right? So usually we have like a description and we have a a style number of some kind, right? And we may be on a single item like a tumbler. I don't know. Maybe we got a size, maybe we don't. Maybe we got a color, maybe we don't, right? So I could skip these. Let's say it costs, $350. I'm going to put the order cost in, which is optional. There's the actual cost. And then now, because of my margin, it's calculating $729. Maybe I like $749 better. Hey, you're the person, right? You're the buyer. You get to put the price in. It'll suggest one that usually keeps us on track, keeps us in the right neighborhood. But at the end of the day, you're the human being. It's the computer, right? So put in what's appropriate. My ALU, my SKU, my internal SKU is set to system. That means it's going to be generated unless I override it and type one in there, but I'm going to let it roll. Maybe I have a UPC code, maybe I don't. Let's say I have a UPC code that is and then click save, right? Okay, single item entry. Pretty straightforward. Assign to the next sequential ALU automatically. That's all a preference, by the way. There are different preferences out there. You could be sequencing by UPCs. You could be only using UPCs. You could be required to get the UPC. If you are, it will not let you save till you have a UPC. So there are lots of options in there how you set up a system. I always have a backup SKU. I usually set the ALU to be my internal SKU, and then I try to get 100% UPCs. But reality is only a few of my clients have 100% UPCs. And usually that's because they're both the vendor and the retailer. They sell to themselves. So, all right, single item entry, pretty easy. Usually I like form view. You could do this over here. You could go into list view. You could go like new. Now mine's set to knee jerk into form view, but you can see that if I wanted to do my entry right here, I could. If you're doing it in a spreadsheet sort of format is easier for you, not a problem. I could change the system preference and we could do it that way all the time. However, you will not have access to multiple price levels. You will not have access to multiple vendor codes, right? You will not be able to get to the tables that are underneath the item. Maybe you don't need them. Maybe you just got one price. Maybe you're good, right? Cancel. Okay, what do we got here? We're on something wacky. Where's our item? There's our item right there, form view. Right, so when I enter the price in up here, it automatically populates down here. If I needed to, I could go down and I could add another price level. Say the original price was $11.99, right? Maybe I'm giving it to them for a deal, right? Or maybe the original price is $7.49 and I'm going to mark it down later, whatever, right? All right, save. Okay, let's talk about styles. So a style like this style here, right, are items that share the style definition, i.e. they have the same three fields here, right? And once they have the same three fields there, then they need to have a unique combination so they can all have the same color if they have different sizes, right? They could all have the same size, like this one and this one and this one, if they have different colors, right? So they've got to have a unique combination of fields in the size color, if that makes sense. All right, anyway, enough with that. If you're going to enter a style, you got to be in style view, right? So we're in item view. On the sidebar menu, it says style view. I'm going to click style view. it's going to switch into a style view. Takes a second. Always takes a second. Kind of annoying. I think my virtual machine's a little slower than, but it's actually this is a virtual machine right here, just in case you didn't already realize that. There's my laptop screen in the background. So I'm running a PC inside a PC. Probably not the best, but it's good for what I do, right? It gives me flexibility. Anyway, here's a style on the top, and there's the members on the bottom. I like form view. I'm going to go back to form view here on the top because I think it's easier to understand and easier to see, right? Um, and at the bottom here, these are the on hands. I don't have any small blue ones, but I do have a small white one. You can see what I have on hand for each size, right? And I've sold too many of these red ones down here. All right, so if you're going to build a style, then you start on a style and you click new. And it should give us a blank style. So I'm going to say men's top polo Nike, and this is polo. Seem to have a cap issue. Polo logo upper left chest. All right, and now I'm going to need sizes and colors, right? Sizes are pretty consistent, so we can actually, there's a scale button. We can't click it right now because I've already got a scale in here. I'm going to pick the only scale I have, the small through 2x. It's going to put the sizes in the grid for me. I'm going to go ahead and continue with what I'm doing up here and say this has a cost of, $17.23, and we're going to sell it for $44.95. Okay, and it has an original price of $44.95. Now, the quantity required column here, I don't really need. I can't get there to take it out because I'm in edit mode, but I don't really need this column per se. Just going to hide it for a moment. You would if you were doing like stacked price levels, like where you buy 1 yard of dirt and it's $50, but if you buy 2 yards, it's only $75 for both, right? If you're going to do a strict quantity discount, one item that gets cheaper as you buy more, then you need the quantity required column. But that's rare. I've only used it twice in 25 years. So, all right, we've got a basic definition. We've got some sizes. We don't have any colors, right? So on the upper right corner here, we have edit, attribute, and size. So if we open that up, it then shows me the size run I've already got in there, and it shows me an asterisk. Leave the asterisk alone. I sort of started playing with it again recently, but it started erroring out again. So leave the asterisk alone. Let me just make sure that we understand. Do not edit the asterisk. It will go away all by itself. Okay, so let's put some colors in, right? How do we feel? Do we feel patriotic today? Let's go red, maybe white. Now, I like to use standard abbreviations. You know, you don't have to. You got 8 characters, right? So I've got red, white, and blue in there. Do I need a color for every size? No. Colors are opposite the sizes, right? The colors are on the left axis, the sizes are on the top. Do not mess with the asterisk. Leave the asterisk alone. Starting on red, going left to right, we will put a quantity in the field. Why am I going left to right? Why not just do all the smalls at once? Why go left to right, top to bottom? Does it matter? I mean, who cares, right? It does matter, actually. They write the SKUs in the order you put them in, right? So I just built 15 items into inventory. That one I did earlier with the tumbler, that was 1 edit. This is 15 edits all at once. So let's see what happens. Let's click save. And updating style. Now, obviously, there's no limit to the axis, right? So I could have had a men's pant run starting at size 28 and going up to 64. And I could have leg lengths for like a boot cut jean that go from, 28 all the way up to 40. You know what I mean? So I could have quite a large grid. I could drop 900 items in there, no problem, in one style. Now, on the grid here, I have a mode where I can flip the view and I can see the items. Right. See, so you see that item 33 is a small, and because I went left to right, then 34 ends up being a medium, 35 ends up being the large. Do you need to do it that way? No, you don't need to do it that way. But the people on the floor will like you a lot. If they're holding a medium and and the customer says, no, I want a large, I'm going to go get a large. And they got the medium in their hand and they say, that's 34. Oh, let's try in 100035. Oh, that's the large. Perfect. I already rang it up, right? So you don't have to go left to right, top to bottom when you enter a product into a grid, but it's recommended, I'm going to say, because it does put them in the right order. Plus, if you're in inventory and inventory is presenting like this, or let's go back to item view. Let's pop into item view and see what this thing looks like in item view. All right, so here it is in inventory, and it's natively, you see it's natively presenting, right, with the small on top. Now Oracle is kind of a pain in the butt. I'm just going to say Oracle presents these items the way Oracle feels like presenting them. So it's nice when you put them in correctly and they present correctly and you don't have to sort them. Could I sort these if I wanted to into the right order? I'm going to copy our little description here. I'm going to drop our description into description 1. Okay, I think you guys get if you sort by size, it's never going to work, right? Numbers come before letters, L's come before M's, right? So if you can't sort by this, right, you really can't put them in their native run. I can get close. I could say sort it by departments and vendor and style and color, and I could put all the reds together. But if I say sort by size, then it's going to put 2x first, and large second, and medium third, right? That's how it's going to go. Unless I have in my back pocket my numbering SKU sequence, and if I have them in the right order. Now, what I mean by the right order is that the small is a smaller number than the medium, and the medium is a smaller number than the large. I don't care if they're contiguous. That's nice. I do like that. And they will be mostly in V9, but it just matters that they're in the right order, right? In V8, it was possible to reuse rows. In V9, it's not. In V8, you have blank rows that you populate. In V9, you don't have any blank rows ever. In V9, you just ask for a new record and Oracle gives you one. Or you ask for 15, right? Whatever. So let's cancel our quick filter. Okay, we made a style and we made an item, right? Any questions about that so far? Let's hop over to the agenda. Okay, so we've got departments, vendors, items, styles kind of nailed down. So let's talk about some other stuff. Non-inventory, what the heck is non-inventory? Non-inventory are items that do not change quantity. Like here is a row that we're using as an upcharge. So they're doing something and they want an upcharge. They want something modified. We're going to charge them $10. So we sell that kind of thing over and over, but we don't receive it, right? Like in Sacramento here, we have to charge everybody a dime if you take a bag, right? If you go to the store and you need a bag, it's a dime. Mostly because they're just trying to stop you from using bags, right? That's it. There's nothing, we don't have to sell bags. But the stores, they don't track those, right? They just sell them, and it's like buying paper towels for the break room, right? You buy bags. You don't say, hey, I got 300,000. Oh, how far down are we? Yeah, we sold 150,000. No, it's a non-inventory item, right? The quantity is always zero on hand. You could sell it 100 times, the quantity is still going to be zero. Okay, everybody get that? Not what a non-inventory item is. Moving on. Price levels. We kind of talked about price levels briefly, right? So you could use price levels in a lot of ways. You could use a price level for a specific group of people, like you could have an employee price level, you could have a club member price, you could have store 1 price and store 2 price and store 3 price. The bottom line is, if you have multiple prices, you got to maintain them, and that could be a real pain in the rump, shall we say. So the original price, if you have a price level, it's got to be the easiest one to maintain because it's the original price. You put it in once, and for the most part, you're done. If the price goes up at some point, you got to put in both the new prices and the retail and original. Yes, but the price going up is an exception. I got to say, the price going up is a rarity. Mostly items come in, they go down or they get discontinued, especially fashion items. They're here for one season and they're gone, right? Occasionally you have an item that's been around a long time, like a part. If you were talking about a hardware store, yeah, a number 8 1.5-inch bolt is going to be around forever, right? In some form or another, and it is going to go up eventually, right? All right. So you can have as many price levels as you want. I think up to 250 something. That's more than anyone needs, by the way. So there are lots of better ways of discounting, I think, especially in Prism as we move forward into Prism. There are some nice functions in the promo tool. There's a discounting tool called ARPA Promotions, or the promotions tool in Prism, and you can write rules that discount things based on department codes, vendor codes. And in Prism, it includes additional fields from the customer's database, which makes it really, really powerful. So if you had a member, you could put the word member in the info1 field of a customer and have that rule activate when it sees that that's populated. So enough on price levels. I think we got that for the moment. Now, I guess I should mention, if we're talking about price levels, we're not going to go over it, but I will mention there is a thing called the price manager on the sidebar menu where you can adjust prices in large groups. So if you are maintaining price levels, you can use the price manager. Like if there's a wholesale price that is 10% over cost, and costs change all the time, so then weekly I'm going to be going out and adjusting prices from cost to add 10% and write them to the wholesale price level, right? I'm not going to do it daily. I'm just going to do it with the price manager in big lumps. But all right, enough said on price levels. MultiVendor, right? MultiVendor, very powerful box. We looked at it briefly. I pointed to it really. So I could have a primary vendor and I could have a secondary vendor. So if I wanted to have another vendor, I could pick another vendor, and then I can buy it from either person, and I can still have my restrict vendor turned on, which is a great feature. It limits the view when you're on a purchase order to only items from that vendor. That's what the box was created for. However, more times than not, it's not always used for that. There is another option here. These fields here would allow you, without using the vendor code, to put in multiple UPCs. So, for instance, I have a greeting card, like a get well card, or a whole line of greeting cards. Happy birthday, happy Mother's Day, you know. And I don't care which one sells better. I just want to sell them off on one SKU, assorted greeting cards. Well, I could just put all the UPCs in this one column here. I could just keep going, see? I could just keep putting UPCs in there, and they will all work at point of sale. So if we have an item that we choose not to track the individual members on, we just choose to sell it as assorted. And I can think of another example where I was setting up Goat Island on Niagara Falls, and there was a local sunglass vendor who brought in assorted sunglasses and filled a little spinner. And if the sunglass didn't sell, they took it back and put another one in. It's like, you know, a gold mine. Sunglasses at Niagara in the sun. You know what I mean? So the vendor's totally taking care of the retailer. The retailer doesn't care if the aviator or the wayfarer, right? I don't care which one. The cat's eye is selling better. Great. Who cares? Sorted sunglasses, $19.99. Boom, done. Put all the UPC codes in a big column. Sweet feature. Okay. Oh, by the way, we put in 275. And they all worked perfect. We tested them all. They all worked as if they were native. You couldn't tell the difference between scanning an alternate or scanning the primary. All right, so serial numbers. Okay, well, that's an odd one. All right, so serial numbers. Yes, we support serial number and lot numbers. If you're using serial numbers, you have to turn on the serial number tracking to full or partial. I'm not sure if you actually have a need for serial numbers. It's rare, so I'm not going to go deeply into this unless, Stephen, you say, hey, I really need to go deeply into this. Suffice to say this, full track would be like a firearm, right? Where the feds say you have to fully track this firearm in and out of the location. So in that case, it's gonna, if you receive 3 items and their serial number tracked full and you're in receiving, the minute you put that item on the receiver and say that you have 3, it's gonna break into 3 lines, 1 for each serial number, and you're gonna have to scan the serial numbers in on the receiving voucher. And then of course you have to scan them out when you go to sell them. You can also turn on in your lookup fields the ability to look up an item by serial number. So to avoid scanning the tag and then having to go, boop, what's the serial number? And then having to scan the serial number, you could just scan the serial number and it would do a lookup for the item based on the serial number, much more efficient. There is a, you can see, let me just click this to full for a second, click save. And you see over here, there's a button that says serial numbers. You can open up and you can see what the status of any given serial number is. You know, if it's on hand or if it's been sold or transferred or whatever, and you can add new serial numbers. So if you were going live with serial numbers and you already had 3 existing, you could just go and add them right here. Say new serial number, key it in, add it to the item. Okay, edit. Let's turn that off for now. Obviously, partial track is the case like in California, where a bicycle is required to be tracked when sold, but not when received. So we're not going to waste our time receiving all those serial numbers. We're just going to scan them onto the receipt as we sell them, i.e. partial track. All right. Now, I don't see any questions yet, Stephen. Hopefully you're still awake, but I appreciate you hanging with us. Anyway, so let's go back and look at our exciting Word doc here. Count sheets. Count sheets are basically a trick I came up with. So if I said, okay, I'm just going to look at Nike. Okay. And I want to see those printed out. What I did is I was actually on site with a client and they said, could you create a doc design to do this? I said, I don't know, let me try. And I did. and they were pretty excited, and we got nothing. We got 0 here. We got literally nothing. Okay, so let's go play with that. All right, fine. All right, let me just grab some stuff here off my drive. See, I just set up a new VM and now I'm caught without doc designs. Pretty sad, huh? All right, so I'm just gonna say select all, copy, but while I'm here, let's hop in here. So here are some of the doc designs, count sheets, a cheat sheet, a pre-count sheet for inventory, but I should be able to just drop them all in. I just copied all of my designs. So let's go find out. All right, they go into in your Retail Pro 9 folder. You'll find a design folder and there a doc design folder. Then all the various subcategories or folders that go with each of the different types of documents, right? Yeah, replace. Just rock and roll here. All right, so now if I open up inventory, I should have a bunch of stuff in there, right? So let's go try it out. So back to Retail Pro and click print. Now I'm going to say count sheet and all listed records. And that's what a count sheet looks like. So let's blow that up a little bit so that everybody can see it. But you know, you got your items, and then this is a doc design, so it's completely editable on our own level. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on these, but know that we can do lots of tricks here with doc design. I could print this, I could export this out to Excel, I could count it in Excel, and then from Excel I could create an upload file and upload that to a physical inventory if I was doing a count, right? There's lots of tricks I could do here. I'm going to exit, and no, I'm not going to save it. Let's try print. I like the pre-count sheet. This is some ladies up in Langley, British Columbia that came up with this, and I was able to accommodate them. And they said, you know, if we're counting inventory and we got stuff that's in the back stock room and we know we're not going to need it for the next week and we're doing inventory tomorrow, can we pre-count it and put labels on the outside of the box with the count on the right-hand side so we can just scan the sheet and don't have to open the box? Yes, you can. Beautiful thing. Gotta love it. Just a doc design trick. Another one that's pretty handy if you have some items, and everybody has a few, that either are, shall we say, tag challenged or just a pain in the butt to tag, right? And you want to have a cheat sheet at point of sale. I created this, it's a tag design. Instead of repeating across a little tiny tag, 1-inch square, two right next to each other, this one prints to an 8.5 by 11. Right. So I could filter for a group of items. I could go mark them and filter for them, and I could put a, you know, I don't know, I can get like 3 by 8, so I can get like 24 items, I think, on here. Probably enough to cover all the basic stuff. And then if you could print this out, then if it gets dog-eared, you could just reprint it, right? I mean, you don't have to cover it in plastic and all that. Hey, thank you, Stephen. I'm glad to know you're still awake. I appreciate that. It's good. You know, this is pretty boring stuff, and so I totally get it. But I try to keep it as exciting as I can, right? All right. So anyway, there are other designs. We don't need to go through all these, but there's designs that show you your price levels, lineal and side by side. There's a count sheet that shows you quantities on hand for all stores, multi-store count sheet. There's a markdown one. There's an ALU one. So this one here actually should show us those UPCs that I just put in, but because this only shows records that have that lower layer, and that was on a different item. It was on the tumbler, wasn't it? And that's not a Nike item. Ha! All right, so Kind of embarrassing, but there you go, right? Really handy though if you're I'm going to cancel my quick filter here. And if I try that here, it should work. Let's find out, I guess. Print ALU and all listed records and preview. I've used this a lot when people get screwed up and they put the UPCs in weird places. Yeah, see how it shows? It only shows items that have that entry, right? But if you put a UPC accidentally in an ALU and also in a UPC field, and when you scanned it, it would pop up and say, hey, which one do you want? It would create a conflict in the system, right? And UPCs, ALUs are not cross-checked with the AUPCs, right? You got to be in the same field. We can say all ALUs need to be unique and all UPCs need to be unique, but that being said, you could repeat it in each of the fields, right? So anyway, enough on that. Let's talk about committed. Can we even talk about committed? Let's just see. What do we have that would be committed besides me? Oh, that's a different kind of committed. Anyway, so we got nothing. All right, so we will circle back to committed in a minute here when we have something that is committed, right? So date range, what's my date range is set to month to date. Let's just set it to undefined. Your date range in purchase orders should always be undefined. A purchase order is not a history document. So it's either active or it's inactive. If it's old, it needs to be inactivated. It needs to be retired, right? It just doesn't stay there forever. So we're going to make a PO, and then we're going to come back and look at the whole committed thing, right? So we click new at the top here. So we went to purchasing. Now my screen is set up differently. I've been toying with screen designs, and I have set up my screen to be a little different. So I like to get the full height of the screen, for my items. So for instance, if we just put in here Nike, let's just start simple here, Nike, and go out to choose edit items. And there's all the Nike items. Now notice that you do not see all the other items, right? That tumbler from Pete's, right? Not there. So this feature in system preferences called restrict vendor is turned on, and I'm only allowed to see items that I get from Nike. Now, because of my entry style, these entries are very clean, small, medium, large, extra large, 2x, starting over on white with small, right? So I could do my entry right here. I could just go to this dot quantity column right here, and I could do my entry. So I'm going to say one of those, 5 of those, 7 of those, 5 of those, and 4 of those, and repeat that. Now this is okay. However, I don't know what that one is. That's a weird one. So it might be easier, and let's click into this other one here, to go to the style view, because in the style view, I see things presented the way I want to see them as a human being, right? So it takes a minute to get into style view, but if it avoids a stupid mistake, I'm going to have to say it might be worth it. So come on, you can do it. Little virtual machine. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to form view. I like the form view. Now here, you see what I mean? If I'm doing the same kind of pattern, which was 1, 5, 7, 5 with 4 2XLs, which probably should be a 3, the bell curve. I mean, let's face it, Americans are pretty fat. So, we're like 1 small to 5 mediums to 7 larges to 5 extra larges and probably 3 2X, although I myself is a 2X. I'm not a small boy. Also 6'6", so you know that doesn't justify being overweight. But anyway, I do like putting stuff in this way better. It's easier to see, totally easier to use, right? Anyway, we click OK. It brings us back to inventory. We click OK again in the inventory screen. It brings us back to the purchase order, and we should see our purchase order. Boom, boom, boom. There's our PO. So now we can click save. Now, before I click save, there is no PO number yet. Know that it will assign a PO number upon saving. Now I've got the more complex PO number turned on. So it's got the vendor code followed by the order date followed by a sequential number, right? So it's Nike 08 0321 00001, right? It's the first PO. Pretty clean system. Okay, so now if I were to be in inventory or on a receipt or on a purchase order, and I were to highlight an item and find, and why isn't it here? That's so weird. The committed button. So if I highlight an item, click committed, it'll show me that PO number there, right? They'll say what I have at a given location and how many I have coming in and what my planned availability will be. And I can hop up to the company if I want to see the whole company, or I can go down to a store if I want to see an item. That's the committed function. It makes a lot more sense though when you're not sitting on a, on a purchase order. So if I hop back into inventory, so if I was in here and I was wondering, is that on order? I could click committed. It would say, yeah, it's on this PO right here, right? And if I wanted to, I could then either double click the PO or click view down here, and it would actually show me the PO. So a big fan of committed. Very quickly lets you see things that are committed in or out. Hang on a quick sec. All right, sorry. Wife taken off. All right, so real quick on the committed, obviously this is the incoming. Up here would be the outgoing. We don't have a sales order, and this webinar is not about sales orders, so we're not going to go make one. But if we had stuff committed out either in a transfer or to a customer, then it would be showing at the top here in the top half. So it would say you're starting with 13, 5 are committed out, that brings you down to 8, but we got another 7 coming in, that gives you a planned availability of, right, and we just do the math to 15 or whatever. Close. All right, let's get out of there. Let's go back to our outline and see what the heck we've accomplished. So we did create a PO with existing inventory items. We did not create a PO with new items. So we should do that, right? So let's go back real quick to purchasing. I'm going to move through this pretty quick. I think we've been through this and we think we all get it. So, if as long as it makes sense to everybody, if you have any questions, I'm hoping you'll raise your hand, put it in the chat, whichever. All right, so if I make a new purchase order, what we're going to do is we're going to combine all the stuff we've gone over so far, basically. So I'm putting in Nike. Now, if I'm building a PO properly, I probably should come down here. My terms are set automatically right from the database. My account number should have been there. I just guess I didn't put one on there. The order date is today. I can, in the date field, play games. I can move around with the arrow keys, and if I move over to this 3, I can hit the plus sign on the keyboard. When I do, it goes up, right? See, so I can just hit the plus sign a few times. An example of that would be the cancel date. I'm going to move to the cancel date now. I'm going to type T++. So T is like saying today. It just put in the 3rd, and I hit ++, moving the month from 8 to 9 and 9 to 10, right? Boom. Silly date tricks, right? You gotta love them. If I wanted to change the date, I can always pull the drop-down menu. I think we all know how to use a calendar, right? We all know that we can go backwards, we can go forwards. and we all know we can pick a date. What everybody doesn't seem to realize is you can actually click on August and access the month directly. So if you're hopping directly to a month or a year, you can click on the month or the year and access those directly. All right, we've got all of those goodies filled in for the most part. That's our basic PO header. I'm going to click Choose Edit Items on the sidebar menu. I'm looking for Nike items. The item I want is not here, so I'm going to go to Style View. And in Style View, I am going to click New. So choose Edit mode means that I can actually build items as I order them, right? So if I click New here, it opens up a form view for me. Thank you. I can say this is men's top tee, and it put Nike in for me. I'm on a PO, right? I mean, it's going to have to be from Nike, right? So I'm going to say logo T LT123, right? We're using the same scale, and has cost of $746, and we sell it for $19.99. And it has an original price of $19.99. Oh, I guess I got to put the original there, huh? All right, so click up here to my edit attribute size, and white, black, I don't know, red. Yeah, all right, click OK. Now here, this item doesn't exist yet, but the quantities in choose edit mode in a style, specifically a style, are the order quantity. So when I create the item by putting a 1 in there, it's both building the record and ordering at the same time. All right, so I've created these items. I'm going to click Save. When I do, the asterisk line goes away, right? We don't mess with the asterisk. We've already established that. So it vanishes here as soon as it saves. Boom, gone. Never have to worry about that again. Do notice, though, that the red has an asterisk in front of it. That just means inserted, right? That just means that it's not officially part of this thing here called the scale, right? I didn't put colors in the scale because they're changing on every item anyway, right? So there you go. You could absolutely could put colors in here, and in here I could click add, and I could say whatever I want an extra small, through extra large, and then I could, that's a name, right? That would be the name of the scale. Then I would click OK and type my sizes in across the top. I guess I could go ahead and do that. We are in a webinar, right? So extra small through extra large. So then I'd click in here and type extra small, right? Hit the right arrow and say small, medium, large, XL. So this scale is not a women's scale or a men's scale or a kid's scale, right? It's an SML. It's extra small through extra large. It can be used for anything that uses that run, right? I've seen people put in like men's t-shirts, small, medium, large, extra large. Women's t-shirts, small, medium, large, extra large. You know what I mean? It's a waste of time. There are specific scales. A ladies' Missy run or a junior run, where you're using a Missy run would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? The junior scale runs 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. There are very specific scales. Men's dress shirts, men's suits, men's pants, right? A 34 by 36 or something. Actually, I used to be that. But anyway, so this is not specific. This is very generic. This could be used for anything that uses that run, right? Click OK. I have another scale out there. If I wanted to go and see it, I could see it here. Of course, it doesn't include the 2x. So if I select that, it's going to insert the extra small, which doesn't exist in those. And then the 2x becomes the inserted value with the L asterisk there, right? Not a big deal. Looks dumb having a blank column though in the front. So I would choose to build more than one scale that doesn't show blank columns. Anyway, I click save. I click OK. Brings me back to inventory, show me the items, and puts them on a PO, right? Boom. So most item creation is done because we are ordering it and we have to buy it and it doesn't exist. Causing the item to be put in on the purchase order, which that may be the most important piece to a purchase order. Yes, it's good to know what you have on order, and yes, it's good to communicate to the vendor, but it's really good to get that item in our system ready to be received long before it shows up. That's probably the most important aspect to POs. It makes you productive at point of receiving. All right, I'm going to go back out to choose edit items real quick. I want to hit click new. I want to make one other last little point here. If I'm just adding an item, if I was adding another tumbler or something, right? What I want to show you is, come on, you can do it. We can put a department code in here or whatever. We'll just pick one. I'm not going to save this record. We can put some stuff in the descriptions and we can put some stuff in the style, right? You see that this down here, this quantity field, I can try and click in it all day. I can't get into here yet. The save button is between the descriptions and the ordering fields, the doc quantity. In this case, it's a purchase order. We're on a PO. That's the doc quantity. That's the PO quantity. With Oracle on a single record, you can't order it till it exists. That's why the save button's between them. You make your descriptions, you come down, you click save, then you can order it. Just want to make that quick point, cancel, yes, bye-bye, and okay. All right, back to the ever popular, truly exciting list, a hit parade of things to do here, right? So I think we've accomplished most of the PO stuff, really. Editing and deleting, yes, FYI, you can save this. In any PO you want to, you could go to the PO, highlight it, and go to edit, right? I mean, POs are not carved in stone. They are flexible. Trick question for those people that care. When does a purchase order affect inventory? And the trick answer is never. Only receiving transactions affect inventory, right? So a PO could be out there forever. I have clients that actually have it out there forever and they receive against the same thing. Think about a little like mini mart that sells mostly souvenirs but happens to carry some dairy because they're next to a hotel. And there's only 24 items they sell that are dairy related, some milk, some butter, some sour cream, some cream cheese, whatever, right? So they make a PO. They put the 24 items on there. They reference the same PO every morning. They just put in the quantities they need real fast and receive off that PO. It's over received 1,000%. Who cares? It's a way of receiving quickly without having to go out to inventory and browse these items, right? There are no rules on the POs. When you're done with them, you got to delete them. You got to inactivate them when you're done, right? At the top, you could say inactivate and say, are you sure? Yes, I am. And it goes away. It's gone. Now there's not there anymore. But I could say, hey, show inactive items. Oh, there it is, that PO. I want to reactivate that. Bring it back. Okay, there it is. Hide my inactive items. If that makes sense. All right, so back to work. So you can edit them anytime, you can update them, change them anytime, and you can inactivate them and basically doesn't delete them, it gets rid of them. You only want to have current active POs in your current active view. Because if you have, 75 POs from Nike, but only 2 are active, and I'm going to receive some Nike product today, I got to wade through 75 POs to find the one PO I'm looking for. You're not helping me at point of receiving, right? Keep your PO file clean. All right. Moving on then. So receiving. Okay, we can't receive from here. We're on a purchase order. Let's back up. Go to purchasing, receiving. So voucher. They call them vouchers. Don't know why they call them vouchers. They do. They didn't ask me. They decided to make them that. So we click new. In the PO field here, we can click the button. If we don't know the PO number off the top of our heads, it's probably Nike 0803 21 or 2. But all right, so we'll take 1, click OK. So step 1 in receiving against a purchase order is to reference the purchase order, right? I mean, not rocket science. And so then it referenced the PO, it put the vendor in, it put like a lot of net 30 in there for me. It's nice, good. It's got lots of good stuff, but where are my items? Well, you have to go choose them. So on the sidebar menu says PO items, because every time we receive against a PO, we get exactly what we ordered, right? Yeah, not probably. So in here, I can now say, yeah, I got 1 of those. Yep, I got 7 of those. Yep, I got 5 of those, right? Or I could click receive due over here on the sidebar menu, right? So by clicking receive due, I'm just going to fill that whole column in. See that? Boom, 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 boom. Then if in fact I am getting short shipped on one of the items, I'm only getting 5 of those, I could just go back and fix the one that was shorted, right? That's the faster way of doing this. Then click OK. It brings all those back to the receiving document. Typically, we think of receiving as existing in 3 pieces: order, receive, and reconciliation. If by chance you have an invoice at point of receiving, you can do both steps 2 and 3 together, right? You can receive it and reconcile it at the same time, which is hugely advantageous. I mean, you really want to do that, but I don't know, in the land of vendors, old dogs don't learn new tricks. I don't know what else to say. So I don't know why it takes people 2 weeks or a month to get you an invoice. I don't know. Today's world, they should be emailing you that invoice the day they ship, right? That's the way it should be. All right, so if I'm here and I don't have an invoice, all I can do is I can make sure that these quantities are correct, verify that on the packing list down here in the bottom of this box above that Nike code, it says 128, right? So I can verify that the total quantity is correct, and that's all I got. Now that's what I'm responsible for. At point of receiving, I'm responsible for counting the damn product, right? So the accountant has to be able to trust that the receiving person counted the stuff in correctly, right? That's the only thing they have to do. The accountant can't be at point of receiving everywhere, right? We have to have people that receive and properly say what came through the back door, so that when we go to bat against a vendor and say, hey, like you didn't ship it, we didn't receive it, we ain't paying for it, we got to know we can trust that point of receiving person, right? Now, if that's the case, we're done. Unless there's some damage and something I got to make a comment on, right? I'm done. Now, if I have an invoice, I could go further. If I have the invoice in my hand, I would check the 128, and once that got to balance, I would check the subtotal. And if the subtotal of 1582 didn't balance, that means the vendor changed a cost on me, right? That one of these is not 750 or one of these is not 1723, right? So then I would have to look through here and find the one that's out and fix it, right? Now, if I have to, like in this case here, because of my screen design, I've got a few items on here, but I can see all, what is it? I don't know. We got at least 13 plus another, we got about 25 items on there, right? Ish. So and I can see them all. I don't have to scroll at all here. But if I had 300 SKUs, I'd have to be scroll, right? So if I need to, if I've got a mistake and I can't figure it out, put the document on hold, go to the held menu, click print. I'm going to go to preview. I'm not going to actually print, but you might actually want to print it out, right? Now, with a printout from held, I could now sit down with the invoice right next to me, right? And I could go down here crossing off the ones that are correct, which would then allow me to find the one that is incorrect, right? So this is a nice trick. I'm going to right click this because this small button is killing me. I want to have a big button, so I activated large buttons. Exit, do not save. Then when you're ready, there is an unhold button, but it seems to wander off and vanish all the time. Don't know why. You could add it back if you really want to have it. I don't think it matters though. And the reason it doesn't matter, there it is, the unhold button. It's not it. Cancel. Okay. So I added it back, right? There's unhold. But if you just click edit, it's just like unholding. So I don't know. For me, the edit works fine. Just click edit, call it good. So then you could go fix your item, right? Once you have the piece count and the subtotal balancing, at that point, then you could put in, if you had freight, right? You could put in freight. If you had a discount, you could put that in, or a fee of some kind. You could make the total balance. Once the total balances, then down here, I would put in my invoice number and the invoice date. So with the invoice number and the invoice date, the accountant would know that the bill is due net 30 from 8/1, right? All right, so we then click update or print update. I'm going to click print update, and the voucher invoice total. Oh, I didn't put the invoice total in. Yeah, if you put this in, you got to put that in too. 1594.72. It's kind of picky that way. And print update. And if you put the invoice number in, then the invoice number shows here because I put it in a little box. So that makes it nice. You can attach this to the invoice, put it in the pay folder. When the accountant gets it, they'll go, hey, look, the total's balanced, the invoice cross references, life is good, right? Okay. So let's get out of there. Do you want to save this? No, I don't. Let's hop back into our list of goodies to do, right? So referencing a purchase order, yes. Without referencing a purchase order, can you receive without referencing a purchase order? Yes, you can. So you just skip this field here, put in your vendor code. Right now, at this point, I'm now going to choose edit items, right? So in real life, if I carried Nike products, I could have thousands of items in inventory from that one vendor, right? So if you're doing a one-off receiving and you're just going to receive, a dozen items maybe, or 5 items or something like that, I'm going to say, yeah, go ahead, do the receiving, right? Maybe I got 12 of those and I got 24 of those and 24 of those and 24 of those and 12 of those. And maybe we just got the red ones. That's all we got. Okay, no harm in doing a quick receiving like this. If you don't have a PO written and you got 300 SKUs coming in, and some of those aren't even defined in inventory, you just bottlenecked receiving for the rest of the day. You're not going to be able to get anything else received, or you're going to have to set those aside and get to them later. And stuff don't sell in the stock room. You can't sell it if it's not in the system. So I got to say that small one-off exceptions received like this, great, no problem, do it all day. But the PO is about managing your time. It's about getting the data in the system upstream so you are ready to receive when that stuff shows up, right? That's what the PO is about. But yeah, you can receive without a PO. You don't have to have a PO to do it. And let's say I don't have the invoice. This is a one-off. They're going to send me an invoice next week. We got it. We click update only, right? I don't even know if I need to print it. If I'm waiting on the invoice, what's the piece of paper going to do for me? Right, nothing. Okay. Okay, fixing mistakes. There's never a mistake in receiving, is there? All right, so if I have a receiving like this I just did, and I now find out that I received these at the wrong cost. Okay, the cost went up, they're not $7.50 anymore. I got an invoice now, but it doesn't balance. The piece count's okay, but the rest is not. What I need to do is I need to take this one out because we're doing cost averaging. So we cannot, you can't average new good product into an old mistake, right? So you got to start by taking the bad out. Pretty easy. Click reverse, you say why, wrong cost. Now this is an audit trail, and if somebody asks why you voided that transaction, it's really good if you have a reason on the correcting document. Okay, boom. This one is now reversed, right? So if we look at the big picture here, these are backwards. Thank you, that's better. So this one here was once regular like that one, right? But now it's reversed, and it was reversed by the reference doc number, number 4. And I really prefer to have the reference doc number over here. I mean, it just gets in your way and confuses you. If I want to look at it, I will. But you can see that 3 references 4, and 4, the correcting document, references 3, right? Anyway, so we reverse this. We voided it. Now we click copy on the original transaction. It rebuilds the whole thing, and I just go and fix my problem, right? So if these are now 758, right? I just go fix it. And if that makes my subtotal balance, then I just go down here and add my freight, my discount if I have one. Maybe I've got a fixture fee. Maybe I got a $25 fixture fee that I have to do. Yeah, it's gonna make me pick a reason code, isn't it? Yeah, fee. All right, so now let's say hypothetically that accounting has a freight account and they have a discount account. So the freight goes to freight, discounts go to discount, but there is no account for the fee. There is an option over here on the sidebar menu to spread cost. So if I click spread cost, I could check off freight, I could check off discount. With that, you got to do things the way accounting does them. If accounting has a freight account, you don't spread freight. If they don't have a freight account, then you do spread freight all the time. That's a pain in the ass, I'm just going to tell you. Now, an exception fee thing like this, we're at 758 in our cost, right? I click OK, we're at 784. I just spread the cost of that fixture over the items, made it cost of goods. Now, next time when I receive at 758, the average cost is going to start coming down, right? As I sell these off and receive them at lower amounts, right? It's going to come down. Again, if I had my invoice, I would then want to finish this. Nice, 777. Maybe I should go to Vegas today. All right, so print update, right? We have different designs. That's the original one. This one here is one I made for people that need to print it on receipt paper. No excuse for not receiving, right? Oh, my printer's broke. Oh yeah, well then just print on the receipt paper. Just get it done, or don't print it at all, right? All right, moving on. Don't. Okay, back to our exciting process. Okay, so adding freight or adding fees, right? And our item costs and quantities, right? So if you're Control Z, if we're just adding freight, So for instance, on this voucher here, the first one we did, I got an invoice. I take a look at this. The subtotals balance. I don't spread freight. I could just add the freight. Like I don't have to. I could just click in here and add it. I don't got to reverse it, right? Unless something is going to affect either the quantity on hand or the unit cost, then I don't know. I could just make my edits right here. Call it good. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. All right, perfect. Now, let's talk about price for a second. So let's make another new one. Let's say it's Pete's. And it didn't like something I typed in there, did it? Oh, no, that's right. I typed in the PO field. All right, I'm cheating. Okay, so I'm going to go to the vendor code field, which it did for me already. Thank you. And I'm going to go to choose edit items. And let's say that my little tumbler, my fake tumbler here, is going up. So I'm going to order 48 of those, but the cost is going up to $5.50. So I'm not going to sell them for $7.49. They're going to have to be $11.99 now, right? We're going to click OK. Okay, here we are in receive mode, and we click update only. And it says modify inventory price. Yes, no, or cancel. So quantities get added automatically to inventory, right? That's what a voucher does. A receiving transaction adds quantities into inventory, and a receiving voucher averages costs, right? So it's going to average however many I have against the 48 coming in at this higher cost, and it's going to come up with a new average cost. You can't average price. So if this pops up, the first thing to do is to cancel. Go through the items on the screen. Make sure you have both the inventory price and the actual voucher price showing, right? You got to have both these fields on your screen. Find the one that's wrong. Now, in this case, the answer would be yes, update, right? What if the buyer made a mistake on the purchase order and zeroed the price out and was about to take inventory to zero? The answer would be no, right? Don't update in the price, right? So you got to know what you're facing here, right? You got to actually go in and look. If you need to change this, you can change this. You're on the voucher. You can edit this. You can't edit inventory price from here. But editing this and accepting it will edit inventory price, right? So if you click, print update or update, and it says modify inventory price, real quick, the yes is going to take the $11.99 from the voucher and override inventory, where the no is going to take the $7.49 from inventory and overwrite the voucher, right? It's only one price, right? You can't have it both ways. So we'll say yes and okay. All right. So just want to make sure we touched on that because that's kind of a big one that sneaks up on us. Weird. All right. So clean house. So what is clean house? Clean house is inventory maintenance, right? So let's just start with the basics here. If I go to inventory and say hypothetically that an item I have here on the screen is not going to be needed anymore. So what do I have in here? Well, I could take one of these things here, right? So if I take this first item and I say inactivate, it says, are you sure? I say yes. There are no references in the inventory. Do you want to delete it? That means it's never been used on a receipt. It's never been used on an order of any kind, right? This just literally not referenced, not tied to any history. So I could delete this. I'm going to say no. Right, that item's gone now, right? It's just totally gone. Now if I show inactive items, it comes back. There it is. There's the item back, and I could activate it. So that's inactivating one at a time. What if I inactivate an item that has quantity on hand. It marks them out. So from the drop-down menu, choose the adjustment reason to be applied to the quantity memo that you're about to make. So if you know the item's not there and you want to mark it out and you want to retire it at the same time, you can do that from inventory. I'm going to click OK. Are you sure you want to activate? Yes. Boom. This item has quantities. Yep. Right. Now, if I show the inactive, I can bring that item back, but not with its quantities, right? Its quantities are gone. So merchandise adjustments. All right, here's a quantity memo manual, right? So form view. There's my 8 pieces, right? I can click reverse and update this. When you reverse an adjustment memo, it makes a new one, and we could put a reason code on there, whatever, wrong item. And update only. So I just reversed the memo that was made from inventory. And if we go back and look at inventory, it should now be back the way it's supposed to be, right? Yep, back live again with its 8 quantities. Okay, now what the hell's Clean House and how does Clean House differ than this here, right? Clean House is a way of doing that faster. So if I go to Clean House, merchandise Clean House, first off, you can't see items that don't qualify for Clean House. So I can only see those a few items at the top that are not committed to a document, that can't be on a purchase order, and they cannot have it on hand. So those items, all those Nike items, they're double whammied, right? They're on multiple POs and they have on hand quantities. So they are out. They're not even going to be visible here. So if you're viewing items here and you filter using the filtered view, right, on the sidebar menu, and say filter for everything that is a given vendor code, right, then you could say marks, select all, and it would just mark everything on the screen. If you say clean, it inactivates everything. But again, you know, if you have 600,000 items in inventory, but you're only using 37,000 of them, you're making life really hard for everybody at point of sale that's searching for stuff when there's no tag on something, right? So keep your damn inventory clean. I'm not picking on you, Steve, by the way. I'm picking on all those people that view our webinars through our YouTube channel. So anyway, I'm not going to clean these items. I'm just going to back out of here. There is no memory. If we can mark and unmark these ourselves, right? If I wanted to double click this, I can unmark it. But there's no memory here. If I escape out of here, those marks are gone. If I don't execute the plan, then when I come back, Clean House has no memory of what was previously marked, right, at all. So to that point, you know, what a lot of people do is in inventory, in system preferences, they set up one of the fields. So like in here, if you look at a form view of an item, there's a bunch of user-defined. UDF is user-defined field. Auxiliary is another word for a user-defined field, right? You could change one of these to be a mark for Clean House, like a deletion mark, and then I could go in and pull the drop-down menu and mark it for deletion. So that kind of mark would be permanent, right? So the best plan for Clean House and keeping your inventory clean is to incorporate into your daily activity the ability to mark items when you see them. So you're working in inventory, you're working on stuff. Oh, those items there, just mark, 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 mark. Okay. Or maybe at the end of the day, I got 20 minutes. I just got to kill. So I'm like, I don't want to start a big project. I'm going to go mark a few items for deletion. Then every quarter, whoever is in charge of it goes in and does the Clean House filtering for the items that have been previously marked. In that scenario, if they don't qualify for deletion because they still have it on hand, they don't go. They're not in the Clean House screen. But if they then qualify by the next quarter, they go next time or the time after, right? It's a beautiful thing. You got to find a way to manage getting rid of items. We all manage getting items in, but nobody ever manages getting items out. You got to come up with a good plan that works for your culture, right? Okay, so that's clean house and that's deleting. Okay, PO maintenance, the last little topic here, which we're almost up to, our time. So we won't take all the time. We'll probably end here in another 5 minutes and get back 20. So with purchase orders and with sales orders, by the way, any kind of order document, you got to keep them clean, right? So in here, I could go in and filter. So if I do a filtered view, I could filter by unfilled percent. So I could say if they're, you know, um, if they're 100% unfilled, right? Then I don't want to see them. That means they haven't been received, right? And then I would only see things that were. Did I do that wrong? Let's see here. Modify filter. Unfilled 100%. Exclude. Those should have qualified, right? Clear all. Let's click OK. Let's just see here. Unfilled percent, 100%, 1.4. Okay, so that one should have been excluded. I'm not sure what I did wrong there. Okay, filtered view. Let's start with clear. Clear all is good. So if you have something in the filter that you can't see, clear all on the sidebar menu takes it out. Just know that clear all is a good thing, right? So let's try this again, see if it's just, stupid human tricks, right? So 100% unfilled, exclude, okay. Now it's working fine. So there was something in that filter I couldn't see. So you can filter for things that have not been received or that have been partially received. You can review them and say, look, I'm not waiting for the 2 pieces. Call the vendor, say cancel the back order, and just inactivate it, right? Boom. I'm going to say no on this. We're going to go back and cancel, modify our filter here. We'll cancel it. Go back in, filtered view. I'm going to take this a step further. Here's my order date. Here's my cancel date. I'm going to right click. I thought I was going to right